Ted here with the Countdown City Geeks and Move Over Sopranos because the queens of Nolans are taking over this mob drama.
Bring me the axe!
I am joined today by Erynn Dalton, I hope I said that right, and Eric Swanson, who both worked on the Big Easy Queens. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having us. We're happy to be here. That was a great intro.
I was gonna say, what an intro. I'm gonna snag that. That's our new opening for every screening from now on.
I'm honored. Erynn, I must start with you. This is such a witty and clever screenplay. What interested you? What was so interesting for you to be a part of this project and directing this movie?
So I was actually approached by Eric and the writer, who is Robert Lelou. They had an idea for the script, and we just met completely by accident. And they said, "Oh my gosh, you're a film director. We need to talk." And then they took me out to dinner. They plied me with wine and said, "What do you think of this?" And I said, "It is so awesome and crazy. There's no way I'm not doing this."
Wonderful. Eric, so tell me about this. Is this like a passion project of yours? How long have you been working on this story?
So I love telling this story because it's the total, this is showbiz, this is how it happens in showbiz. But my longtime writer and friend, Robert Lelou, he sort of helped me create Miss Bouvèé, but Miss Bouvèé really had only lived on the stage. I mean, I'm a Broadway baby at heart. I'm a theater queen, and that's just where I grew up. And he was interviewing for another project for a major network to write a screenplay, to write a movie, a made-for-TV movie. And he did the interview and he didn't get it. And he walked out of the room. He was staying with me at the time. And he walked out of the room and he sort of poured himself a glass of wine and he just went, "Miss Bouvèé could do a movie." And I just thought he was just, forgive the expression, batshit crazy, because I thought I've never ever envisioned that for myself or the brand that I was building. And then the next day I met Erynn. I'm talking literally the next day I met Erynn. She said, and we were working on a theater schedule for something else. So she was theater and film. It was like the perfect moment and person. And I connected with her. It's impossible not to, when you meet Erynn, to not just sort of feel like she makes you matter. She makes you feel empowered. She's just a gifted human. And the rest is history. We took her to dinner and pitched the long line, and then he wrote the script. And the timeline for this movie is actually incredibly short. We filmed in 10 days.
Oh my God.
The entire movie is filmed in 10 days. And then going from pre-production to end is only about 18 months, which for an indie film is like, and funding was secured in that time. It's like, we just felt like it was right place, right time, and everybody who could contribute in all the right ways for this film, down to the music composer, the producers, just like happened to be ready to do a film at that time. So truthfully, it became a passion project, but I was along for the ride because Robert Lelou and Erynn are the film crazies who just like said, "You're doing this," and they made me feel like I could. So, that I was on the crazy train.
I love that. Erynn, this movie is so many things. It sort of touches on so many different genres, and you have such a challenging task of putting all this together and keeping it authentic and being true to the story. What were your sort of goals, or what were you really aiming to get down really well while creating this movie?
So I think really finding that balance between camp, noir, horror, trying to check all those boxes. We had all those fun Easter eggs for people who would know, callbacks to Mommy Dearest, callbacks to, voodoo and yes, New Orleans culture. That it's kind of those things where, for the people who know, they know and they recognize it. And for the people who don't, we just want to make sure that we took them on a fun ride.
Mm.
So by the time it was all over, they were like, we don't know what that was, but that was fun. Which is kind of how we felt going into it too. We don't know what this is. It's like a different dash of genres. It's a genre bending film. But
Yep.
you know, when Robert wrote the script and showed it to me, there was really nothing else like it out there. I mean, it's also a musical.
It
So
really is, yeah.
all of those things, I hope we walked those lines in a way that made it all blend together well, and people weren't, you know, confused by what we were trying to say. I felt good about it.
Me too.
It's a wonderful experience, and the musical portion really held strong by Eric. Miss Bouvèé, you had some wonderful numbers in there. I I am a little bit of a musician myself. I don't brag. I just locally. I don't do a whole lot outside my city, but I've been playing for 20 years, and I could immediately recognize you've been classically trained, or just you've had a ton of experience. Tell us about maybe your mindset. Where did you prepare for this role, and how does it differ from your previous performances, or how you entertain with this character?
What a great question. Yes, my background, I was actually a choir teacher for 5 years, taught 6th through 12th grade in the Metro Detroit area. And I felt a calling to get back in theater, and so I left teaching. And when I created Miss Bouvèé lives in a cabaret world. I actually don't live in the drag queen world a lot. They are different. They're starkly different.
Sure.
And so my full-time job is a cabaret performer. I work on cruise ships. I work on Fire Island, New York City, and travel with my cabarets. This is a different thing. And musically, to work with a composer who was willing to write in the style of New Orleans jazz. First of all, that's my home, that's my heart. New Orleans is my blood. And to have him write music for me in like my keys, he knew I call them my isms. He knows what I like to do, and I mean, what a gift. You have to do that. If a composer comes in your life and says, let me write something for you, the answer is just yes. And you try it out. And preparing for this role really was, well, Miss Bouvèé is what I live off screen and on screen, but film wise, it was just really important to make her a strong queer character, somebody who didn't have this sort of, I call it the queer residual trauma that's often depicted in film, coming out stories or disownment from your family. This is everyday mainstream problems. Money, I don't talk to my sister, and love. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
that any person, gay, straight, whatever, can relate to. And I think that those stories coming out and things like that are important stories to tell. But I just really felt like I wanted to speak to a broader audience and their experience with life. And Robert really heard me on that. And Erynn helped me uphold that principle across the board with all the character developments. And so Erynn was really key in preparing, just because, like I said, I'm a Broadway baby. So having somebody who speaks theater, talk film, because they are two different vernaculars, was, I mean, like, just life-saving.
Yeah, we're the perfect team, right?
Yes, truly. I cannot stress that enough. Like, just everybody down to the logo designer, the BTS photographer, the makeup. I mean, just everybody felt they drank the Big Easy Queen's Kool-Aid. I mean, everybody was just in this to win it. And
Right.
you just can't ask for anything better. You just can't. They believed in the story. They believed in what we wanted to do, and they're still here. I can't tell you how many times we just came back from a film festival, and they were like, how was it going? Did they love it as much as everybody else? It was just, they're checking in on their baby.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Erynn, Nolans, I have to pronounce it Nolans because I was told to do that by locals when I last visited. Nolans is my second home. I feel like the city itself has a spirit much like my hometown of San Antonio, where you just can't avoid it. The spirit is everywhere you look and everywhere you turn. Erynn, tell us about how you were just amazingly able to capture sort of that essence and spirit of New Orleans. That's probably one of my favorite shots of Canal Street is that one sort of overhead shot. I was just like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. I just loved it.
Yeah. Yeah. So fun fact about the movie, it was actually filmed in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And
Ah,
we faked a lot of New Orleans
well
just
done.
because of budget reasons. I thank you so much. I mean, that's such a compliment to that we captured the spirit, even though we weren't there because we wanted to be there. It's just for budgetary reasons, we were like,
Sure.
we can't afford to shoot on location for this one. But certainly we understood the city and the vibe and what we wanted to bring to the project, even if we couldn't physically be there. And of course, with the music, the original songs and even the score that was composed for the film, we really did try to capture the feel of the city because it's really special to us too.
I love it. I love it. Eric, I feel like Miss Bouvèé should have a franchise of films. I feel like this is the start of something of something wonderful. Do
Oh,
you feel the same way that Miss Bouvier can really have sort of a lengthy film career after this?
I'm avoiding looking at Erynn Dalton's quadrant right now because this is something that thank you so much. It's incredibly kind of you to say. I sure hope so. I mean, in show business, you just never know what they're going to grab onto. When we put this out there, I hope, and I'm so glad so far, the critics who have reviewed the movie have acknowledged the ensemble nature of our cast. It is truly, even though I'm the lead and it's presented by Miss Bouvèé, I mean, Ben, who plays Susie, or Ben, who plays Mimi, and
Mimi.
Jennifer, who plays Poodles. These characters just all really carry their weight and have so much depth to them that I'm just grateful to be invited to the party and that they all said yes when I called and said we're doing this cool little thing. It's going to be an adventure. I sure hope so. I hope it's not the end. On the last day of filming, I was so tired. And if you would have asked me this question, I would have been not in a million years. But now that I've had some sleep and had time to see the full process, it's really exciting what you can do with film
Right.
and what you can do, the impact you can have and all that goes with that. I hope Miss Bouvèé has a life. We have another film that is just beginning pre-production now. It's actually a complete contrast to this. It's a drama. It's a World War II drama with Miss Bouvèé as a club owner in northern France as Germany's coming in, and she protects her queer people, and it talks about the growth of and the oppression of homosexuals in what was later known as the Holocaust. And the
Wow.
pink triangle is a huge queer symbol, and there's not really a film out there that revolves or tells that story. And I think even though there's music and there's some fun in there, of course, the Miss Bouvèé brand is in there, but I wanted to take her somewhere else. And so I want to be able to show a breadth of a wheelhouse for her and make her accessible to a lot of people and tell queer stories in a way that I think is important.
Well, you're doing a wonderful job. Thank you so much, the both of you, for taking the time to speak with me. Uh, Big Easy Queens is a fun, wonderful film. Like you've already mentioned, the performances are fantastic. My kudos to Robert because other than the performances being wonderful, this the dialogue is so witty, and I envy people that can write that well, and so kudos to Robert. He did an incredible job with the script and the dialogue. I was just like, wow, it's incredible. I love it. It's just so I don't know, it's so enticing just the way he wrote everybody's lines. It was wonderful. Thank you so
Thank you.
much again. And I hope that everyone gets to see Big Easy Queens at a film festival near them or as soon as they possibly can. So thank you both again.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Ted.